Successes, though, were unfortunately short-lived, and profits generally very modest. The company didn't have the means to diversify in this way, and was unable to drum up the sort of advertising budgets needed for general public products. Spending energy to overcome market gloom and satisfy shareholders was exhausting. Dialogue between the board of directors and the general manager was getting tougher and tougher. Get Fossé was getting to an age where he cared more and more about realizing his own personal dreams. As he weighed up these disagreements and his own aspirations, he remembered Plato's Atlantis. Valuing only virtue, they had little regard for earthly things. Financial success and business activities should not stifle the search for wisdom and the quest for truth. On the contrary, they should serve them. René Maurice Get Fossé devoted time to his reading and the freedom essential to his scholarly work. In 1928, he confided his feelings to Pierre Argens, former publisher of Parfumerie Moderne, and Aimé Bernard, president of the company. Together they envisioned capital and sectoral restructuring of the SFPA that came into effect at the board meeting of February 27, 1930. To pay back part of its shares and bonds, the company quit the large land area in Villeurbanne with its rational organization and workers' houses and went back to the Get Fossé's original headquarters in Montchat, in nearby Lyon. The personnel was reduced, purchases restricted, and the company refocused its activities on its core skills: perfumery, pharmacy, and the veterinary sector. Thus it was that in 1930 the majority of the capital was once again held by the family, and the firm's position, though more modest, was stabilized. It was not until the post-war management of Henri Marcel that the SFPA would become Établissement Get Fossé once again and stride into the industrial era. During recent study trips to the Greco-Roman site at Glanum, Get Fossé had discovered and fallen in love with the region. He wanted to acquire a property not too far away from Saint-Remy de Provence. Gaston Duprat soon invited Get Fossé to join him in Saint-Remy. There, a former sheep barn located on land that had now become the community garbage dump was up for sale in the Verdières district. Despite the dilapidated state of the building and the hundreds of cubic meters of garbage surrounding it, René Maurice was captivated. Under the charm of that arid, rocky, and forbidding landscape, he was drawn to the idea of making a garden in the desert. The humble sheep barn put the final seal on his old love for Provence. A few months later, the board of directors endorsed the acquisition of an 8-hectare Provençal farm to grow and distill aromatic plants. The aim was to ensure a regular supply of raw materials for the company. With that in mind, he designed a botanical garden, and he built a distillery so as to process the garden's production on the spot. Get Fossé scoured the region and drew inspiration from the local architecture. The tower has a Provençal character. And so the work started, bringing to life the plans he'd drawn up. Earthworks, laying out terraces and low walls in the garden, clearing garbage all around, revamping and renovating the inside of the old buildings to the south, building a new inner courtyard and a wing of outbuildings to the north. Nothing was forgotten. Now aged 60, René Maurice Gattefossé increased his comings and goings between Lyon, where he lived and worked, Vichy, where he went for spa treatment to strengthen his failing health, and Belle-Île. It was there in the farmhouse that he undertook and completed his works of fiction in the 1940s. The plot of one of them, Marc la Salienne, published in 1942, is opportunely situated in Provence. Gattefossé worked for a number of years, studying regional prehistory and attending more and more archaeological digs on two sites that he particularly liked, La Roque-Pertuse near Aix-en-Provence and Glanum, a stone's throw from Belle-Île. In the albums he used to prepare his novels were notes and documents. He also archived scientific articles that interested him, along with correspondence exchanged with archaeologists, especially Henri Rollon. He compiled his own photographs, and he even made some dramatic reenactments. Marthe was the local folklore heroine that Gattefossé adopted and brought to life when the first Roman armies arrived in the region in the 2nd century BC. This philosophical novel enabled Gattefossé to put life back into that ancestral Provence, whose survival he loved to talk about with the abandoned lavender growers of the beginning of the century. Other works followed this historical fresco. Wisdom Writings, Paradise Limited Company, and The Republic of Angels, while Eve, an essay on women's position in society, remained unpublished. In fact, there was but a single question behind all these works: the origin. Paradise Lost had been a veritable obsession that René Maurice Gattefossé had unceasingly re-examined and gone into depth for over 30 years. The Birth of Adam in 1947 followed on from the 1919 Adam, the Tertiary Man. His whole life long, Gattefossé had tried to define the means, more material than transcendent, liable to bring humanity to Eden. Prehistoric archaeology, Greek and Mexican mythologies, not to mention linguistics, are just so many parts of his general arguments. The novel, Paradise Limited Company, is exemplary. Published during the dark years, it highlights the creation of a society whose raison d'être is to redress the Earth's axis. Redressing the Earth, according to the mature, serious, balding hero, engineer Maurice Gautier, would automatically put an end to seasons and re-establish the original spring. The argument of Paradise Limited Company brings out the profoundly humanist nature of its author. It's up to humans, or to be more precise, an organized and determined community, to restore Paradise Lost. In the 1940s, René Maurice Gattefossé prepared the second edition of Aromatherapy. New chapters were written, thereby necessitating a full revision of the original manuscript. The first part was concentrated on the pure constituents of essential oils, studying them from a physiochemical standpoint. Gattefossé exposed elements relative to extraction techniques, the oxidizing power of terpenes, and the oxidation-reduction phenomenon of aromatic constituents. The second, therapeutic part, relates clinical trials carried out in Lyonnais hospitals since 1937. Once again, it was a thoroughly documented compilation in which René Maurice included work done by various authors, which he attached to his own results. It was also an opportunity to turn the spotlight on research in the Gattefossé laboratory, carried out by his son-in-law, Émile Maler, in aromatic agents, and his own son, Henri Marcel, in dermatology. Just as the Get Fossé book was being finalized, the Second World War ended. The war had invented antibiotics. Penicillin, or streptomycin, revolutionized the treatment of infections, abruptly sweeping away traditional clinical methods and other emerging therapies. Aromatherapy had been overshadowed. The second edition has yet to be published. It was to be a long time before antibiotics would lose some of their efficacy through overprescribing. And it would be a long time before interest in phytotherapy and alternative medicine would be revived, and the properties of essences rediscovered. But aromatherapy has seen a new spring, and with it the name of René Maurice Get-Fossé.
L'amour, j'ai chanté, y a de la joie, sans grande joie pourtant. Chantonnais donc un petit air à pleine voix, l'air fut étouffant. Désormais, quels seront donc les pauvres mots sur les chansons gaies que pour vous on invente? On osera placer et sans hésiter trop, pour ne pas me tromper, moi voilà ce que je chante. La la la, tra la 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 la, et zimpa poum pa la, avec un ou deux petits hop-là, si vous voulez savoir ce que mon cœur pense ce soir, en chantant comme ça, zimpa poum pa la, c'est notre espoir.